The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending on where you are. I am so thrilled to be here today to talk to you about our new program, Teach What You Practice. And as you can see, the title of this information session is Healthy Teachers, Healthy Schools. So I'm hoping to share with you how Teach What You Practice can help you achieve both. I apologize for that. So here's a little bit about what we'll discuss today. Why teach what you practice, and why this program is so important to me personally. And then we'll talk a little bit about how this program will help teachers and parents experience transformation in their lives. And we do this through developing a community of learning. And hopefully, our teachers and parents are going to feel empowered through this community of learning and will then take the changes to the community at large. And that is how we will build change, sustainable change for the next generations to come. And then we'll end with some frequently asked questions. So why teach what you practice? Well, as you probably know, school wellness has really become a priority in recent years. In 2004, just to give you a little bit of background, Congress passed the Child Nutrition and Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, otherwise known as WIC, Reauthorization Act. And this act required by law that all local educational authorities participating in the National School Lunch Program or other child nutrition programs create local school wellness policies by school year 2006. So that happened almost a decade ago now. The legislation places the responsibility of developing a wellness policy at the local level so the individual needs of each LEA can be addressed. Now, in 2010, Congress passed the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010, and they added new provisions for the local school wellness policies related to implementation, evaluation, and publicly reporting on progress of local school wellness policies. Then on February 26th of 2014, the proposed rule for wellness policies was published in the Federal Register, and the public comment period closed on April 28th, 2014. So let's look at the implementation timeline of this. As of the school year 2006-2007, all districts were required to establish a local school wellness policy. And for this current school year, 2015-2016, the LEAs are encouraged to continue reviewing and assessing their local wellness policies and implementing the new requirements. And why did we decide that schools need a school wellness policy? Well, the answer is fairly simple. We believe that schools can play a crucial role in helping to turn the tide on childhood obesity. And we do know that through recent initiatives that at the very least, the rate of obesity has actually decreased among preschool children, those ages 2 to 5. So we've seen a leveling out of the increases in obesity. Does that mean the problem is gone? No. We know that as of, I believe it was 2012, is some of the latest data that has been reported that approximately 17% of all children and adolescents ages 2 to 19 were overweight or obese. And we know that overweight and obese children are more likely to become overweight and obese adults, which leads into all of the health conditions that you have heard about going along with obesity, our type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular health, certain cancers, respiratory distresses such as obstructive sleep apnea, a whole host of problems. And while that is bad due to the associated healthcare costs, really and truly, having to live with those chronic conditions, the quality of life goes down so much. So it's not just about dollars. It's really about improving the quality of life for our generations to come. Also, we recognize the importance of wellness promotion in the school setting because this is an area where not only children and adolescents spend many, many, many hours throughout their school careers, but also the teachers, staff, and school administrators who work with our children. They devote countless hours to being in the school setting. So it's really important that the school setting supports health and wellness because for many communities, the local school system is one of the major employers. That can be a lot of people. And we also recognize that it's important to work towards building a culture of health. And this term comes from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And they have a lot of initiatives around how do we build this culture of health in our society. So when we're thinking about school health and wellness, there really are a lot of different components that should go into local school wellness policies. And this is known as the coordinated school health approach. So you will see that physical education is very important, and there's been a lot of research done on ways to get more physical activity into schools and to make the PE classes more effective by including a variety of activities that students at all levels of ability can do to be physically active in class. Then there are areas such as health education, providing health services at the school, nutrition services, which are my personal favorites as a registered dietitian nutritionist. So that's our school lunch program, our school breakfast program, after school programs. Having a healthy school environment, and this can mean a lot of different things. It's not only that we're serving healthy food, but that it's a safe environment for our students, that it's a welcoming environment for our students. Then we have family and community involvement, and that is really crucial because I know that as educators, you recognize the importance of parents being involved with their children as far as their achievement in school. That parents who are more involved, but not necessarily helicopter parents, of course, that their students tend to do a little bit better in school than those whose parents are not attending school meetings and not keeping up with what the child is doing in school and that sort of thing. So we really want to have the family and community involved. And of course, another component is counseling, psychological, and social services, which I believe most schools have a department dedicated to that. But the key that I want to focus on today is really this health promotions for staff, because I really believe that this is an area that many school systems offer something, but because we have so many components to this coordinated school health paradigm that we have to center on the students, sometimes our faculty and staff can get a little bit left behind. And I really believe that if we help our teachers and staff take better care of themselves, they are going to be able to do an even better job than what they're already doing in the schools. Because as you know, teachers especially have a lot of demands on their time and a lot of stress associated with making sure that their students meet achievement criteria that are set forth by the school district, the state, and even the federal level. And that's really difficult when you can't wholly control someone outside of yourself. You can do the best job possible, but still, test scores come back and reflect on the teachers. And they also have so many other things that they have to do during the day, not just planning and teaching, but all of the meetings, the committees, as well as participating in civic organizations that keep them connected to the community. All of this is important. All of this takes time. And a lot of times teachers really put themselves on the back burner. And this idea of the coordinated school health framework really goes with the social ecological model of prevention of chronic disease. So if you're not familiar with this particular model that comes from Bandura, an individual's health and behavior is really influenced by multiple levels. There are differences at the individual level, and this can be things like gender and age, and current health can affect what the individual does. Then we see the microsystem, and this is where school fits in. These, along with family, church, peers, and the local health system, are all immediate influences on the individual. And then, of course, this model moves out to the mesosystem as well as the exosystem, where we're talking about neighborhood, social services, media, politics, industry, until we come all the way out to the macro system, where we're talking about changing attitudes and ideologies in the culture. So the system is also very fluid in that the individual out to the exosystem can influence the macro system, and the macro system down through the microsystem can influence the individual. And it goes back and forth. So what we want to do is to focus here on changes that we can make to support health and wellness in this microsystem that immediately affects the individual. And through this, we're going to work towards making changes outward to the macro system. So why is teach what you practice really important to me personally? To be honest, teachers have always been an important part of my life. You don't go through university and obtain 4 degrees without having some amazing teachers who have pushed you along the way. And so I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for teachers because I know the influence they've had on me. They have always believed more in me than I believed in myself, and they pushed me to do and accomplish more than I ever thought possible. But I also observe them as people who are constantly serving others and don't necessarily take the best care of themselves. So let me tell you just a little bit about my journey and how it's really shaped my views. That's me. So back in 1997, I completed my first degree, my first bachelor's degree, and this was in foreign language education with a concentration in French. This was not the most well thought out plan. My mom said, I think you should be a teacher, because I was struggling with determining what I should really major in college. I tried a few different things, film. I was thinking about psychology and a couple of other areas, and my mom said, I think you would be a great teacher. So I looked at where I felt my skills were, and my very best subject throughout high school was French. So I thought, okay, I will go in and teach French. So I switched programs when I was in my third year of school and finished the degree, went and taught high school for 1 year, and realized very quickly that that was not the path for me. I love teaching in other settings, but to teach high schoolers a subject that is not immediately relevant to them was very difficult. And I am not a disciplinarian. And as all of you out there who teach high schoolers, bless you, bless you, bless you. It takes a very special person with very special skills to work with high school students. They are wonderful. They're young adults. They're really excited about what they're going to do in the world, but sometimes trying to get them to focus on material that's not immediately relevant or necessarily super interesting to them just was not a skill that I had at the time. I was fresh out of school. I wasn't much older than them, and I think that played into it as well. Most of my students were about my sister's age, and I think I just saw them as being sibling age and not really respecting that difference in levels there. So bless you to all of you high school teachers out there, because you really make a difference in the world for your students, and it's a very challenging task. So then I started becoming more and more interested in nutrition, health, and that sort of thing. I had been thinking about nutrition since I was around 16 when I decided to become a vegetarian, which lasted for a few years and until it became a little too challenging. But in 1999, I saw the lovely Mary Lou Henner on a talk show, and she was promoting her book, The Total Health Makeover. And she showed pictures of herself prior to starting this eating plan, and she looked so unhealthy. There's just no other word for it. She was very overweight and likely technically obese. She looked like she did not have much energy. And then to see her on the show, nice and slim and trim, of course, but just so full of life, so full of enthusiasm for her eating plan, I just thought, this is amazing. I've got to try that. So in 1999, I bought her book, actually both books, Total Health Makeover and 30-Day Total Health Makeover, and tried those eating plans. And really, I felt like I had the same results. I had so much energy because her plan encourages you to eat more whole foods. So fresh fruits and vegetables prepared in many different ways, healthy fats like olive oil, canola oil, more whole grain foods, more lean protein, especially fish. And these were foods that I would eat on occasion, but not necessarily regularly. So when I tried her eating plan, it made a really huge difference in my body and my energy level. And I just remember wanting to share that with everyone I saw who looked like they could use a little more oomph in their life. I would go to the mall and see parents running around after their kids, and they looked like they could hardly put one foot in front of the other. Yes, they were overweight or obese, but really, I just wanted them to have that sense of energy that I felt from the eating plan. And when you see people at the mall and they have, the big plates of food that is not so healthy, there, big slices of pizza and that sort of thing. I just wanted them to find maybe a different way and feel differently about themselves and feel empowered in their health and in their bodies. So this train of thought continued, and in 2003, my sister had opened a ballet school and charged me with the teaching of adult ballet workout classes. I had also been doing the New York City Ballet workout video for a couple of years at that point, and also found that to be an amazing experience because it really combines some ballet moves with Pilates and stretches from the yogic tradition. And I just found that the combination of stretching, some strength training, and really just holding positions, that it was shaping my body in a different way than I ever thought possible. And I had taken some ballet back in high school, so at least I was familiar with the terminology and some of the movement. But then this just really brought it all together in a very accessible way for myself because it was on a video and I could do it in the comfort of my own home and I didn't necessarily have to put on a leotard and tights to go do it. So anyway, I started bringing some of these movements to this adult ballet workout class and was so pleased that the participants enjoyed it just as much as I did. But unfortunately, we had to close the school in 2005 because of some outside pressures. So then I was left with, well, now what do I do? So right before we closed the school, I was feeling a little like I needed a change. Um, while I had had great success with Mary Lou Henner's eating plan, I had fallen off of it because it was kind of expensive. It required purchasing organic foods and foods from health food stores. And way back in 1999, it was not as easy to find some of those products as it is today. So I didn't stick with that. But I knew that Weight Watchers had worked for a lot of people. So I convinced my dad, who was really the one who needed to lose weight because he had hypertension, high cholesterol, and was probably class 1, maybe class 2 obese, which means that he had a BMI somewhere between 30 and 39. So I convinced him to join Weight Watchers with me because really I was most concerned with his health. And I kind of told a little story that I just wanted someone to go with me. I wanted to do this and I wanted someone to go with me. And the rest of our family members didn't have weight problems at all. So he was kind of the only one. So anyway, we joined and it really was a great experience because we started being a little bit competitive with each other about who was sticking with points the most. And he would always tease me about how many points is that. And, it was a really great experience. And we both made our goal weights and both made lifetime members. So that was a really wonderful experience. But what it really made me start to recognize in myself was that I wanted to help others find a way to health. And I was also starting to understand that there are multiple paths to health and that each person needs to find their own way. So in 2007, I made the big leap, and it was something I had been considering since I had done Mary Lou Henner's Total Health Makeover, that I wanted to become a registered dietitian. I knew that in order to feel confident in my skills, counseling other people about health, weight management, and nutrition, I needed to have a credential. And so I made the big leap, went back to school, and being about 10 years older than most of my peers, it was a very interesting experience. Because I had been through school before, I did know how certain systems worked, and that was a lot easier. But at the same time, I had been out of school for a while, so some of the subjects were really challenging to me. especially having to go back and take almost all of the sciences. If you're not familiar with the field of nutrition and dietetics, we have to take a lot of the same coursework as students who are going into medical schools. So we have to take the basic chemistries, organic chemistry at least one semester, biochemistry one semester, anatomy and physiology, and biologies. And because my first degree was in language education, I had gotten out of all the sciences by taking AP biology in high school. So I hadn't done sciences in a really long time at that point. And chemistry was my weakest subject in high school. Not that I did poorly in it, but it's just I did not have an easy time with it. So I really struggled with the chemistries a bit. I passed, thank goodness, and I passed on the first try, which a lot of my peers opted to withdraw from the classes and try again a following semester, thinking that it would be easier next time. But I wanted to push through because I was older than everyone else in my classes and really wanted to get to the point of being able to do the dietetic internship. So I pushed through the chemistries, made it through. Still can't say I understand all of it, and still feel like biochemistry is really the main course that we needed. But anyway, so I had to go back and learn a different way to learn at that point. And I think that helps me with my approach to clients now, understanding that we all have different backgrounds and we all have different strengths and different weaknesses. And we have to really work with our strengths when we're trying to take care of our health and to improve our weaknesses if possible, but at the very least, focus on our strengths because that's where we can make habits easier if we're playing to our strengths. So then in 2009, I did graduate with an additional bachelor's degree in dietetics. And it was during this year, as part of a nutrition education class, that I built out the prototype for what would become Teach What You Practice. I knew that so many programs focused on behavior change for students and facilitating behavior change for students, but the components for teachers were always secondary to the students. And I really wanted to build something that would empower the teachers, especially those who were teaching kindergarten through second grade, because those students I feel are most impressionable and most accepting of any adult role model in their life. I wanted to empower them to be role models of health and wellness for students, to help them understand what healthy habits are so that they're excited about eating healthy foods, eating fruits and vegetables, being physically active. They're excited about that because their teacher, whom they adore, is practicing these habits in front of them. And then in 2011, I completed both my master's in foods and nutrition and the dietetic internship. It was a combined program. And during my dietetic internship, I had the opportunity to actually deliver a modified version of Teach What You Practice to administrative folks at the local government here. They have a wonderful wellness program and encourage their employees to participate in different learning activities throughout the year, as well as running 5Ks or make personal goals for their health and wellness. And if they meet their goals or certain criteria, then they get a discount on their health insurance. And the idea, of course, is that if they're getting the discount on their health insurance, that actually they're costing the county less. And it really is a win-win for everyone. The employees seem to really enjoy these wellness programs. And the ladies I had in this particular group, and actually I had a male as well. He was a wonderful guy. He had been running for maybe a little over a year and was completing his first 5K at the time and was then planning for a 10K, I believe. And he had lost a lot of weight, and he was over 60 years old. And you never would have guessed it. But it's through making these small changes over time through their wellness program that he did this. And that really inspired me that, these kind of programs delivered in worksite settings can lead to massive changes in the health, wellness, and happiness of employees at all levels. And I just think this would be so key and important for teachers, staff, administrators, anyone working in the school arena. And then, just as a little side note, in 2012, I discovered hiking quite accidentally, just by going for a walk in the woods at Anna Ruby Falls, and fell in love with that idea. So I do call myself the hiking RD because I have plans to hike the Appalachian Trail. And I'll talk a little bit more about why I'm saying that in just a minute. In 2013, I started to feel the need to start sharing what I had been doing all throughout school and what I had learned about myself and nutrition and health and the connection between the mind, the body, and the spirit and all of this. I wanted to start sharing it with the world. So I kind of jumped a little ahead of myself and started up Northeast Georgia Wellness Associates with the idea of building out this company that will provide wellness solutions in a variety of settings to individuals, to employers, to employees, to families. And it's really now that I completed my PhD in foods and nutrition, which was part of the holdup to really moving forward with the launch of my programs. I did complete my PhD in foods and nutrition this August, and that experience gave me a lot more insight into how to better build, teach what you practice. My dissertation was centered around developing online collaborative case-based learning modules about obesity prevention and treatment, but really I saw it more as health and wellness in general for our undergraduate students. And what I learned through this experience is that online learning can be very powerful for students. It's definitely, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, it's definitely more convenient, but there are some other benefits to collaborating online. A lot of students who are not willing to talk in class are very willing to share on discussion boards. And the students really learned from each other during this experience. In our evaluations of the program, which was the basis for my dissertation, students were talking about how they learned so much from their peers that they hadn't considered certain things that would prevent someone from being able to be physically active, like their work schedule, like their family, like living in a neighborhood that doesn't have sidewalks. So many things that they hadn't considered because that's not what they knew. So that's where the idea of really collaborating and learning came into play for me. And I started to recognize that building an online community of learning around nutrition and health and wellness would be something that I think would have a great impact on a lot of people. So all of this kind of goes to my core philosophy. And this is why I brought up the hiking. I've never been one to be super physically active. I was not an athlete in school. I went to a fine arts high school. But when I started hiking, I did not feel like I was super physically active, although I would get my heart rate up and I'd be breathing heavy and all of those great things. And yes, I would have to stop every once in a while, take a breather before climbing up the hill. It was so enjoyable and so rewarding to get to the top of the mountain. And that kind of became my philosophy of completing my PhD as well. I felt like I was climbing a mountain or actually hiking the Appalachian Trail. And that Mount Katahdin was the end point of completing the dissertation. But what I learned in all of these things is really discovering what you love is the key to lasting change. So I always want to think about building habits that support my passions. So while I'm not one to go out running or anything like that, I like to think of when I am going for longer walks and challenging myself to walk further than I need to, say, to get from point A to point B, that I'm really training myself to hike the Appalachian Trail when I get ready to do that. So it's supporting my passion. It's not just, okay, I'm going for a walk to get my physical activity minutes in. It's helping me frame it in my mind that I'm preparing to hike the trail. So I will be ready when that time comes. And another thing that's really important to me, as I mentioned in talking about getting my dad to do Weight Watchers, helping others to become their best selves is important. And that is what teachers do already. All teachers are helping their students to become their best selves. Yes, they're teaching a particular content area, but character building, value building gets infused in every classroom. So teachers already are in the habit of helping others become their best selves. And I want to bring nutrition and wellness into that too. That teachers, staff, administrators are supporting each other in becoming their best selves in health and wellness. And this really goes to the idea of transformational learning. I believe in a holistic approach to nutrition and well-being. It's not just about weight. We're so used to using weight as an endpoint just because it is easy to measure, but we know weight tells us very little about the health of the person. Sure, we can say there are associations with being a particular body mass index and risk of chronic disease, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and that sort of thing. But really, it's associations. It's not a cause. It's not a causal relationship. So I like to move away from thinking about weight and focusing more on just eating the healthiest foods possible for our bodies, fueling our bodies with high quality fuel, being physically active because it's fun, not because we're trying to meet our minutes and that sort of thing, but doing something that's fun, or at least framing what we're doing as something that's fun. And really and truly, it's about helping the person recognize what's important to them. And this too is where the mind, body, spirit connection is key. Because I believe that when we can start engaging in healthy habits and we understand why we are doing it, then our mind and body and spirit can all work together to support our health, as opposed to, okay, I'm eating this because I'm supposed to, or I'm doing this because I'm supposed to. It's really hard to sustain those habits when they're not supporting your other life priorities. Another key to transformational learning is self-reflection. And I had included this in my online case study modules as well, and found it so helpful for the students that they reflected on what they were learning, what they needed to learn, and how they would use what they had learned in practice. And with the case study that we presented to a general undergraduate nutrition class, they recognized in the case study some habits that they could incorporate into their own lives. And several of them articulated that they were planning to make some changes based on what they had learned in the case study. And it's the same thing with this program, that I want for everyone to reflect collectively on how they can make the healthiest choices and make it the easy choice. And what are you doing well? Because it's so important to focus on what you're already doing well, because success breeds success. So self-reflection is a big part of this. And dialogue within this community of learning is really key, because as we found in our case studies, the students learn best from each other, from hearing each other's perspectives. And it is the same here, that by sharing our experiences, sharing our ideas, sharing what works so well, what the family enjoyed eating, what the family enjoyed doing, we can generate lots more ideas that we can try than what we can come up with on our own. Plus, the social support is absolutely key to creating lasting change in the community. So now I've told you a little bit about the philosophy behind the program and where the program comes from. What does the program actually look like? What will people be doing in the program? Well, the program starts with a 6-week foundation course, simply because as I have been counseling clients, I found that a lot of the same issues come up over and over again, and there are some misconceptions out there about different topics in the nutrition arena. Unfortunately, our research is ongoing, and sometimes we'll make a recommendation only to find out 20 years later that wasn't the right recommendation, and we seem to go back on our word, and it confuses everyone. It confuses me too, even as a RDN and PhD. I'm still confused by some of the information that's out there, because you'll have one researcher who has found evidence for one recommendation, and another researcher at the same time has found evidence for the direct opposite. So we really have to look at what do all of the studies together mean? What is kind of the consensus, or is there any consensus? Maybe we're not showing evidence that this recommendation really works for supporting health. And so the 6-week foundation course is really to help everyone be sure they're on the same starting page with the same core nutrition knowledge and skills. Learning how to recognize what a healthy diet is, what a healthy lifestyle is, and really the key in this program is becoming savvy consumers of nutrition information, because we're bombarded by messages every day of what's good for you and what's not good for you. So I want to be sure everyone has a little bit of experience with looking at what people in the popular press are saying and figuring out a way to find original research articles and question whether this is something that can be generalized to me. Is this going to work for me? I want you to be savvy consumers of nutrition information. And then we, of course, want to focus on action planning and problem solving, because this is where the magic happens. When we create action plans that are smart, they're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant to us, and have a time limit on them, we can accomplish a lot, especially when we add on problem solving around things that are going to keep us from accomplishing our action plan. So the foundation course really is building these skills for everyone, or enhancing, reinforcing these skills in people who already have mastery of this area. Then we have 10 and a half months of developing a collaborative learning community about nutrition and wellness. So there will be modules each month that cover a particular health and wellness topic, and we'll have a monthly group coaching call so we can celebrate our successes, and we can collectively problem solve around any challenges that we've had in meeting our goals for that month. And really, the idea is to build this community that supports a culture of health in the schools, in families, and in the community at large. So this is just an overview of the 6-week foundation topics, and these are on the website, so I'm not going to go into them in depth here. And these topics are potential topics. These will be available and released over the 10 and a half months. But if there's something that you or several people in your school or community are interested in related to nutrition and wellness, we can build out a module for that too. These are just some topics that I find are interesting to a lot of people. Some come from health topics I've seen on Yahoo lately, or things that I know I hear on NPR every morning, such as obesity across the lifespan. Lots of talk about obesity on NPR. And then there are things that are more specific to certain populations. So especially focusing on a positive image, positive body image. For teachers who are working with especially adolescents, this becomes really an important area to know about, how to recognize signs and symptoms of students who are struggling with body image issues, and potentially moving into eating disorder territory. Schools will play a part in heading that off and really creating an environment that focuses on health and wellness and not just weight. This is where we can really affect change in our community and start to change some of those cultural norms. So, as you probably have noticed, this is an online program. And why is it online? And is that going to work? Well, I believe that online learning is really convenient for busy teachers and parents. Outside of the group coaching calls, everything else can be done on their own timetable. They can look at the modules whenever they have time. They can schedule them for whenever they have time. They can catch up on topics whenever they have time. So it's really convenient. And they don't have to get in their car and go somewhere. So for a lot of our teachers and staff and administrators and parents, they may live out a ways from the school. They might have a bigger piece of property, and it would take a lot of time to drive into town to go to a meeting. Or even if we have meetings in the schools, wellness meeting at school on lunch break, some teachers can't always make that. So online makes it accessible for anyone who has computer access and high-speed internet access. And fortunately, the majority of people in America are now having access to better internet services. The other piece of online is that it really fosters a community of support among people who may not otherwise meet. So while a lot of parents will meet with teachers on Teacher-Parent Day and that sort of thing, teachers in some departments might not necessarily get to see teachers in other departments regularly, and especially teachers in one school might not get to meet teachers in other schools. And then we can talk about across districts, because all of the people who enroll in this program are going to have access to the Teach What You Practice Facebook group, and that will be schools across districts, across states. So you can see what's working for someone out in Washington State if you're here in Georgia, or what's working just across the border in Tennessee or North Carolina if you're here in Georgia, and vice versa. So we can share ideas and we can get to know people that we otherwise wouldn't meet. And as I mentioned with what we learned with our students in the online case studies, it can actually allow for more in-depth discussion, because there's time that you can read a post and reflect on that post before responding to it to keep the conversation going. And for some people, that's really helpful. So a lot of times people who wouldn't normally share ideas tend to feel more comfortable sharing online. And I just think that's great to get these people who have so much knowledge but just don't like to verbalize it. Having an online forum where we can discuss is just really amazing for building confidence of everyone involved. And the other piece of this is that it does provide accountability, because we will share our action plans if you want. You don't have to, but we like to share our action plans and then follow up if we accomplished what we set out to do. And because these posts are online, they are concrete, tangible. Online, you can see them. It provides a level of accountability. And for a lot of people, that's so important. So really the idea behind this program is to create this community of learning about nutrition and wellness. And we see it as a cycle that the teacher, myself, the program, will encourage collaboration and exchange of information and additional learning, and then that people in this program will be able to teach to others. And so we're creating a sustainable cycle of learning about nutrition and wellness. Really, the big idea behind the program for myself is that I want to foster a community of master trainers who can train others in health and wellness, because that is how we build in sustainability. And I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. And through this community of learning and that cycle that we just talked about, we're really empowering teachers to make changes not only in themselves through personal mastery, which you see at the top, and then modeling this behavior for their students or their children, that then creates change. And in this change, when you start making one change and you see the positive benefits of it, it makes you want more. So we create a desire for more change, which leads to further action, further learning, and further personal mastery that starts the cycle all over again. So we're really empowering teachers and parents to be agents of change in the school, in their families, in the community. So I wanted to just mention briefly what Teach What You Practice is not. It's not a weight loss program. Yes, we're going to talk about good nutrition. We're going to talk about physical activity. We're going to talk about best habits. And for a lot of participants, if they follow their action plans and start making changes to their diets and physical activity, they will likely lose weight. But we're not focused on weight loss as the end point. We're more focused on creating a culture of healthy habits within the school and community, and not being solely focused on the endpoint of weight. Another thing that's important about this program is that it's not a federally or privately funded grant program. A lot of things that are offered to schools are funded by the state or USDA, NIH grants as projects that are going to be evaluated and the evidence base built for these type of interventions. This is not a grant program. When I designed this program, I really wanted it to be something that was sustainable, and I've seen it so many times with grant funded projects, when the grant is over, the program goes away, the support goes away, because the sustainability piece was not factored in. So this program is designed to be sustainable, in that eventually there will be master trainers in the communities who can carry on the program. This is not a replacement for what you're already doing in schools for your wellness initiatives. This is something that supplements what you're doing, provides an extra layer of wellness promotion, but it doesn't replace what you're already doing. I want you to keep doing the wonderful things that you're doing. And then finally, because I'm a PhD person, that's what we call ourselves, PhD people. This is not a research project. Yes, I'm going to collect data on outcomes just to improve the program as we go along, but this is not a research project. This is not something that's going to get reported in a journal or presented at a conference, unless as I collect data, some interesting things come out of it. Then I may create a study later where I invite you to participate in interviews and that kind of thing. But the program itself is not a research project. So some frequently asked questions as well. Just want to go through these very briefly. Does the school system have to organize enrollment? The answer is no. Individuals can enroll in the program. We will facilitate groups if there are multiple participants in a county or school system or within a school. We can facilitate the group getting together and knowing each other and that sort of thing online. But the school system doesn't have to organize this. It's self-organizing. What we are just wanting to do is to make you aware of the program so that you can share with anyone you think might be interested. Do I have to participate the entire year? Some people can't commit that long, and the answer is no. You can actually choose to only complete the 6-week foundation course and then cancel your enrollment after that. That is perfectly fine. And in fact, I think we're going to add that to the website as an option to just do the 6-week foundation course. So that would be one monthly fee. And, then you've got a good foundation for going forward. Can new teachers and parents join in the middle of the year? The answer is yes, they can. They'll have access to the 6-week foundation course first, and they will also have access to whichever monthly module is currently available. So if your district has decided to come together and you have a lot of people in your district who are enrolled and you want to have a tailored program, then they will receive the module that your district is working on. Will enrollment be available after October 1st? The program is starting October 1st, but yes, anyone can enroll at any time. The 6-week program is always available, and the current module is always available. So yes, anyone can enroll at any time. So if this sounds like something that can enhance what you're already doing in your district, it really resonates with you to have a program that's online and convenient for your teachers, staff, and administrators and parents. If it sounds like it can support staff wellness as part of implementation of your comprehensive school wellness policy, if you feel that it provides a vehicle for transformational learning, and that's something that's important in your school or in your district, and that if you're excited about the possibility of having parents and teachers be role models of health and wellness in your community, and if you feel like this will really foster a culture of health in your schools and in your community at large, and if you're excited that it encourages collaboration among the different stakeholders in your students' lives, then these are the next steps for you. The first 6-week foundational course opens October 1st, and then it is rolling enrollment afterwards. Now, priority registration is set to end September 28th, and we're offering a 20% discount as part of priority registration. So that breaks down to being $23.99 per month for each enrollee, as opposed to the regular price of $29.99 per month. We are actually going to extend this offer until September 30th because I recognize payday is September 30th. So I want to be sure that we're not hurting anyone who is waiting on their paycheck. So we're going to extend this until September 30th at 11:59 p.m., essentially midnight, for priority registration. We're so excited about this. And because you're on this call today, I want to also offer you a super special early bird bonus. So if you enroll by the same deadline, September 30th, because you're on this call, you are going to receive a complimentary nutrition assessment with personalized feedback. This is a key component of our 3-month health transformation course for individuals. We start with a nutrition assessment, and then we build out learning modules from there for these clients. And this is a $199 value. And we will give you a feedback form like we give all of our other clients that, kind of identify your key strengths and key areas that might benefit from some changes. And then we help you set your own goals for what you want to work on. So I really think this is something that you will enjoy. It will get you thinking about what you're wanting to accomplish in the Teach What You Practice program. We have a small assessment as part of Teach What You Practice as well, just so I get a good idea if there are a number of participants who have, say, diabetes or other chronic health conditions, then we can address those as well during the program. But this is the full assessment for you, and it's only available when you enroll by September 30th, because I want to celebrate you making a commitment to your health, your family's health, your school's health, your district's health, your whole community's health. It's my thank you to you for really stepping up as a role model and change agent in your community. So if this program sounds interesting to you and sounds like something that you want to consider enrolling in, or if you want to learn more, I want you to let us know, how can we best serve you? Here is our contact information. You have my telephone number and email address there, as well as the website. And then if you want, you can follow me on Twitter. If you go to the website, you'll have links to the Facebook page and LinkedIn and the other social media links where I post all kinds of information. But then you can also follow me on Twitter, because I am planning to spend a little more time on there now that we have Periscope out. So I will also be doing some Periscope broadcasts in the very near future. I'm excited about that. So I want to know, how can we best serve you in your community? Drop me a line, visit the website, look around, and then come back and tell me how we can serve you. I would love to hear, because I really want to support the teachers in our communities and building healthy schools and healthy communities. And just so you know, these are our references that I used today. And I'd be happy to take any questions. All right, it doesn't look like we have any questions today. So we will end the broadcast here. I look forward to talking with all of you soon. And if you have any questions about our program, please don't hesitate to drop me a line. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the afternoon.